Let me transition somewhat anyway to the world of politics. And I'm going to turn this way. Follow me over here when I bring up this subject. And here's why I'm going to bring up this subject. It's about Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, but it's not about politics. It's about sports, because he's talking about setting aside $1 million in the state budget for any potential litigation coming down the pike to sue the NCAA or to sue somebody because of the college football playoff selection committee that didn't pick Florida State, who went undefeated but still got left out of the top 4 spots. According to the articles right here, it says Ron DeSantis is adding financial backing to the backlash from Florida State's playoff exclusion. DeSantis announced on Tuesday that he wants to set aside $1 million for, quote, any litigation expenses that may come as a result of this decision by the College Football Playoff Committee to snub the 13-0 ACC champion Florida State Seminoles. DeSantis made his remark during a news conference to present his 2024-25 budget recommendations. Quote, my first grader, my fifth grader, and my preschooler, they're all Noles, and they are big-time fans, and they do the tomahawk chop, and they were not happy, DeSantis said. We're going to set aside $1 million and let the chips fall where they may. Will you stop? First of all, sir, don't you have bigger priorities? I mean, you're trailing Donald Trump by about 59 points in the polls. The man ain't even show up to debate you because he considers you that insignificant. Don't you have bigger problems? Don't you have bigger problems? I mean, thank the good Lord that you ain't trying to alter the education system by talking to us about how there were good elements of slavery with the school board people that you put in place that were trying to make that argument. Thank goodness you ain't doing that anymore. Lord knows what you got planned down the pike in terms of who you want to battle with, who you want to fight with. But let me tell you something right now. Fighting the school system 1 minute, fighting amusement parks another. The list goes on and on. Let me tell you something. You're getting your ass kicked by Donald Trump. And Nikki Haley is coming up the rear. She's got donors on the left voting for her because she's considered somebody that's a better candidate to represent the nation in the event that one of those 91 counts against Donald Trump, 4 indictments totaling 91 counts, ends up being effective enough to make him a convicted felon. Nikki Haley is slowly but surely, I shouldn't even say slowly, she's gaining momentum, which is why the debates are scheduled to take place tonight in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, matters because she's getting donors and she's building momentum. Isn't that a priority you should be focused on? I would say so. I would say so, Governor DeSantis. Now, I got to admit, you looked good going up against Gavin Newsom in that debate that Sean Hannity for Fox News hosted the other night. It was fact-based. You were throwing a lot of stuff out there. You knew your stuff. You were definitely combative, which is your MO. And I thought you were relatively effective against Gavin Newsom. And you clearly gave us 2 distinctions, but this is not your lane. First of all, this isn't the first time a college football program institution has gotten screwed over. Ask TCU. Ask Ohio State. Ask Baylor. Ask Central Florida from years ago. Didn't hear you talking about them at that time in 2017. Now, none of those teams were undefeated, and that is fair. But the criteria that the College Football Committee clearly states, it brings up head-to-head competition. It brings up strength of schedule. It brings up all of that. You know what else it brings up? Availability of players and coaches. When the Florida State Seminoles lost Jordan Travis, you had an opportunity to still look good. You didn't take advantage of it. In 2014, when J.T. Barrett went down for Ohio State, Cardale Jones took over the quarterback position for the Ohio State Buckeyes. They promptly went against Wisconsin and beat them 59-0. Right after that, they were inserted into the college football playoffs. You know what they did? They won a national championship. They knew that style points mattered, so they went out and they abused Wisconsin. That is not what Florida State did. When they lost Jordan Travis, they squeezed by Florida. When they lost Jordan Travis for a second week and didn't have him available to them, they squeezed by Louisville. Meanwhile, Alabama, led by Nick Saban. You know that guy, right? 11-1 in SEC title games. 7-time national champion. You know that guy, right? Considered universally as the greatest coach in the history of college football. You know that guy, right? His team happened to have won 11 straight. Even though they lost to Texas, it was the second week of the season when he was trying to figure out if he had a quarterback. They won 11 straight thereafter. You know what else they did? They beat Georgia in the national championship game. You know what else they did? They beat a Georgia squad that had won 29 straight. You know what else they did? Georgia was the reigning 2-time defending national champions. And Alabama knocked them off. And last but not least, Governor DeSantis, because clearly, even though you don't need any homework from so much with politics because you're on your game, clearly you need it with sports. Did you see TCU get whipped up last year in the national championship game? 65-7. Let me educate you about something, Ron DeSantis, because I think you need my help, and I'm here to help you. Very astute, Governor. Don't like some of your policies, but there's no doubt you know what the hell you're talking about, and you are no dummy. Highly accomplished individual, not here to disrespect you, sir. But you could use a little help when it comes to knowing how to appeal to a nationally televised audience. Perhaps if you did that, you'd be higher in the polls. And the fact that you struggle with that sort of dilutes your argument on behalf of Florida State, because what you're not paying attention to is the problems that TCU's annihilation in the national championship game that Georgia caused. The committee didn't want to see a part 2 of that. The networks didn't want to see a part 2 of that. Nobody wants to see Florida State going into the college football playoffs with someone other than their star quarterback and struggling to score points against Alabama. And if it's not against Alabama, Texas, Washington, and Michigan, how you think that's going to work out? Nobody wanted to risk that. That's why they're out. And that's why you can talk all of this nonsense and all of this pomp and circumstance about shoving money aside, $1 million aside, like some litigation is going to come down the pike that's going to be effective. It's not going to work. College football has been doing this forever. You didn't bitch before. When your teams or the team representing your state wasn't the one getting screwed over before, nobody's going to listen to you now. That's just the way it is, sir. That's just the way it is. Just stop it. Stop it. I know you were, campaigning because you were in the press conference and talking to the folks out there. But the reality is that, look, man, it ain't going to work. So just get over it.